Okay, so hopefully at this point you've got your virtual machine started, you've registered, and if at any point during this time, like the announcement says, if you've got an issue, just let me know through email. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to get the file we need to use in AutoCAD and we're going to put it in our OneDrive space. So under Content, if you go into Intro to Drawing, Sketching and Drafting and go into AutoCAD, you will see this plane figure AutoCAD drawing. So you need to download this. It's not very large, so hopefully that doesn't take very long. I've already got it on my desktop, so not a big deal for me. So then what you're going to do is you're going to go to my apps page. Okay, so if this, you may only see part of a few apps here. You may not see all of them, and what you need to do is come up here. Let's just see what happens when I do my access. No. You may have to click all apps, okay, and that'll give you access to all your apps that are in here, okay. So what we want to do is we want to click on OneDrive. Make sure, of course, that you're logged in up here with your school account, because if you're not, OneDrive won't work, okay. And I don't know how much you have in your OneDrive, but the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a new folder called AutoCAD. So you're going to come up here and click on New and say Folder. And I'll do mine again. I'm going to call it AutoCAD 2 and click Create. Okay. And then you'll click on that folder and it should be empty, of course. And then we're going to click Upload, Upload Files, and you're going to find that file that you downloaded. So mine's on my desktop. So I click Desktop, Plane Figure, Open. It should upload it to my drive. So there it is there. Okay. So that should be ready to go for us to get into the virtual machine and access it. So let's just give that a try. Leave that there. Bring this window up. Okay, so this is the virtual machine, all right, that I'm in here. You can see I'm in this weird link. So if I go over to my Windows Explorer down here and click on File Explorer and click on OneDrive Waterloo Catholic, there's that AutoCAD folder that I created. And there's that plane figure drawing. So it's synced already. And I'm in rural, so this might take a few minutes depending on what your internet's like, because clearly this is, you know, virtually getting there to there. Okay, so I've got access to it, so check that first. And then if that is working, fire up AutoCAD. Okay, so AutoCAD is a drafting program. It's the first kind of drafting program and the one that most companies use if you're doing line by line drafting. Okay, it's a little bit different than some of the other software that you might be used to, where you can draw, you know, shape by shape, wall by wall, like what we'll do in SoftPlan. Okay, so if we click Open Files, you should be able to find that. Go to OneDrive here. Sorry, not that one. Go to this one down here, Waterloo Catholic. There's that folder again, plane figure, and click Open. All right. You can maximize this window too, so you can get as much of the space going as possible. Now, clearly when you look at this, you may not see anything and recognize, well, what's going on here. There isn't much to this in terms of visual setup. That was a little bit weird, sorry. It's more about what's hidden in the background. So if you come up here to look at your layers, we've got a number of different layers here. The yellow one is construction lines, the red one is dimension lines and object lines. Okay, we'll talk more about that as we use them. So let me move this over here, and I want to pull up that drawing. So you're going to need to have access to this drawing at all times, because obviously all the dimensions are on here. Okay, so I'm going to just move it over a bit more. I need to shrink this window a bit. Get them side by side here. Not sure why I have my camera open, you can't really see me. Okay, so there's that drawing. All right, we're going to draw this object using a series of construction lines and object lines and dimensions. Now, if you want to see what I'm talking about in terms of drawings or lines, if you go into drafting and take a look at this drafting the plane figure, it'll talk about those line processes as well. So there's lots of different ways of drawing this in AutoCAD, but we're going to use a method similar to what we did on paper. Okay, and we'll change that afterwards. So back to here. Let's get rid of that OneDrive tab so I'm not all over the place. Okay, So the first thing we need to do is we need to draw some construction lines like we would on paper that allow us to start sort of in the bottom right corner. And construction lines are just lines that go on forever in both directions. So if I come down here and click on the draw a line, I will be able to pick the tool called construction line. Okay, and if I hover over it, it kind of tells me. So this is essentially what we're going to do. Construction lines allow us to draw, planning lines basically that we can go over top of with a larger line later. So I'm going to click on that. I'm going to click down here somewhere near the bottom, and if I click up, you can see it kind of snaps to 90 and snaps to horizontal. So I just clicked. Okay, I am not holding the mouse button down. I'm going to draw up here and click again, and that'll draw a vertical one. If I come down here and let it snap to 90, that'll draw a horizontal one. Now if I right mouse click, I get out of that tool. Okay, so this is kind of the bottom left corner of the page where I'm going to start my drawing. That's what's going on here. All right. If we take a look at the drawing, we'll notice that the length of the drawing, if we go through and do this work, so you could do this work first, that would make sense. Figure out the overall dimensions. Okay, the overall height of this object, if we're looking at this object, is 105. This is all in millimeters. The length is 108 plus 76, so it ends up being 184. I just remember that from doing this over and over again. And in this case, we don't have a width because this is not three-dimensionals. Okay, don't worry about the page dimensions because this is for drafting actually. We're just looking at this drawing. So the reason I'm having you draw it like this as well is it's going to allow you to play with some of the tools that are in AutoCAD that help us draw. Okay, there's lots of sort of helpful tools in here, and if you've had a construction class in the past and you've used SoftPlan or something else, you may be familiar with some of the tools as well. Right, the first tool we're going to use is the offset tool, and again, if you just let it hover, it'll kind of show you what exactly it does, tells you what it does. But the offset tool allows us to copy an object from one area and offset it or move it in a direction a certain amount. So right now it's saying specify offset distance. This little window that pops up is your communication window. Allows you to add features to what it is you're doing, the lines you're drawing, that kind of thing. So I'm going to type in 184, okay, because that's the length, and I'm going to hit enter. And now it's saying select the object to offset. So I'm going to click on this line here, and if I move this direction, you can see it's snapping the line to 184 units. So all I have to do is click again, and there's that line there. All right. So I'm done using the 184 dimension, but I want to offset again. So I'm going to right mouse click and hit enter. And a quick way of getting back to the same tool is to right mouse click, and now I can repeat offset. Still set to 184. We're going to deal with the height now. So type in 105 and click enter. Click on the bottom line here and pop up, and there's my 105. Right mouse click, hit enter. And at this point I would say it's probably a good idea to save this drawing. So if you click on the save button up here, we now know it's saved. And what we want to do is zoom to kind of so that we can see this. So to get to the zoom tool, just type Z. And if you just type ZOOM, you can zoom. And now we can draw a rectangle to kind of specify our zoom. Click, and there's my zoom. So this is essentially the drawing space for the object. So now what we're going to attempt to do is we're going to start to offset lines in different areas for each of the features that we see. So it's going to get kind of messy, but we can always come back up here at some point and turn off this layer and turn the layer off, and it'll disappear. Okay. Clearly we don't want to do that right now because we're using that layer. Okay, so let's go back to our drawing. So we know there's a couple ways we can do this. So we can draw just simple lines, or we can draw full construction lines. We're going to draw simple lines to do this, but every place that there is a line, we need to kind of draw a construction line. Okay, we need to determine sort of how long it's going to be as well. All right, so I'm going to start with this top feature, and we know that at 108 there's a drop of 45 degrees here. So I'm going to go to my line tool, and AutoCAD's nice because it snaps to different things. So click on the line tool there. Okay, you'll notice these little green things come up. It's snapping that intersection point. What I can do now is I haven't clicked anything, I'm just dragging in this direction. If I type 108, okay, it's snapped me to the 108 point here. So now what I can do is just draw a little line, right mouse click and hit enter. Sorry, my mouse is doing a bit of zooming here on its own. Okay, and I was able to draw a little line at the 108 space there. Okay, that just gets me a starting point. The reason I did that was because I'm going to draw this line next, and it's got to get pretty close to 108. I wanted sort of a visual to understand where that was. Okay, so let's try that again. We're going to draw a line up here at 73 and come across. Okay, so click on line. Oh, it's not. I keep clicking in the window, so okay. Line. Right, we're going to come down here, let it snap to that with that little green thing, pull it straight up, and type in 73. Hit enter. Okay, and now you can see it snapped to 73. So it hasn't actually drawn a line there, it's just snapped my cursor to 73. And now I can drag this across horizontally, roughly about there, and hit enter, and then right mouse click and hit enter again. So now I have that construction line sitting there as well. Okay. At 57, I need to draw this 45-degree angle. So let's try that. Okay, so click on line. The other way to get to a tool is just to type. So if I type an L, there's line. I can hit enter. Gonna snap here. Sorry, there's my dog. Come up here to the top, 57. Hit enter. And now this should snap to a 45-degree angle. It's not doing that right now. Okay, and you can see that it measures, there it is, 45, it'll tell me. Okay, I'm going to pause here because my dog is going crazy. 45, draw, right mouse click, enter, and stop.